What if the comfort you're promised ends up costing you your purpose, your strength, and your identity? I'm Dr. Michael Harper, and today's message is urgent, especially if you or someone you love is thinking about moving into a nursing home. Because once you step inside, stepping back out may not be so simple. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 hard truths I've seen too many seniors learn after it's too late. And I'll show you what options you may have to protect your independence, dignity, and health. These aren't theories. These are patterns I've witnessed in decades of working with aging adults. And some of them may surprise you. Stick with me to the end, because this decision could define the rest of your life. Regret number 1, loss of independence. If there's one truth I've heard more than any other from patients who moved into nursing homes, it's this: I didn't expect to lose myself so quickly. Independence is not just about physical ability, it's about autonomy. The right to choose your routine, your meals, your bedtime, even how you spend a quiet afternoon. And that, unfortunately, is often the first thing to go when you transition into institutionalized care. Let me introduce you to Mrs. Evelyn Tran, age 80. She had been managing fine at home with a little help from her son and a weekly housekeeper. But after a small fall in her garden, her family insisted on moving her to a nearby nursing facility for safety. I thought I was coming to rest, she told me months later. But what I lost was my rhythm. I don't wake up with the sun anymore. I wake up to someone knocking on my door. Evelyn had loved starting her mornings on the balcony with tea and a crossword. Now, her mornings began at 6:30 a.m. with fluorescent hallway lights and staff reminding her to dress before breakfast. This kind of schedule isn't necessarily cruel. It's the structure most facilities need to keep things running. But the loss of even the choice to follow your own preferences can be emotionally devastating. Baptism a scientific insight. Studies from the Journal of Aging and Health show that a loss of perceived control over one's daily life is strongly associated with increased rates of depression, cognitive decline, and even mortality among older adults. The brain and body are hardwired to thrive on purposeful choice. And this isn't just emotional. With less autonomy, older adults often begin to do less for themselves, dressing, grooming, even walking to the dining room. The result? Physical decline. What you don't use, you lose, as we say in medicine. When we rob someone of their independence, even with good intentions, we risk accelerating the very decline we're trying to prevent. Ashishi. Daily life becomes scheduled life. Imagine waking up at a time not of your choosing, eating meals you didn't request, going to bed when someone else decides it's time. That's not just inconvenient, it's dehumanizing. Simple freedoms, like deciding what to wear or when to bathe, begin to vanish. Even leisure time, reading, hobbies, phone calls, gets squeezed between medication rounds and meal schedules. True story. Mr. Joseph, 83, was a former teacher. He used to enjoy writing poetry in the quiet of late evenings. But in the nursing home, lights out came at 9 p.m. They told me it's for my own good, he shared. But how is losing my voice good for me? That comment stuck with me because Joseph wasn't talking about physical voice. He was talking about agency, identity, and freedom. Chapter. The psychological spiral. Once an older adult begins to feel like a passenger in their own life, a few things tend to happen. Motivation drops. Confidence in decision-making erodes. Identity becomes less defined. This spiral leads to decreased engagement and eventually decreased health. Why does this matter so much? Because loss of independence doesn't just change how you live, it changes who you feel you are. Alternatives to full-time nursing care. If you're currently evaluating options for an aging parent, here are alternatives that preserve autonomy while adding safety. Aging in place with in-home support. Shared. Living with a family member. Adult day programs for supervised engagement. Senior co-housing for independent living with community support. Technology also helps. Fall sensors, emergency alert systems, medication reminders, and even video check-ins can allow seniors to stay at home longer. The action step: make a freedom list. If you're a caregiver, ask your loved one, what daily freedoms mean the most to you? Then work backwards. Build care solutions around preserving those. If you're a senior yourself, make that list and discuss it openly with your family. Advocate for your right to maintain control over your life. Dr. Harper's wisdom. Independence isn't just about avoiding risk. It's about protecting the soul of who we are. Every routine we keep, every choice we make, is a signal to our body and mind that we are still living, not just existing. In the end, it's not about fearing nursing homes. It's about understanding that autonomy is a medical need as much as nutrition or mobility. So before you give up the keys to your freedom, ask, is there another way I can live safely without losing myself? Stay strong, stay steady, and stay you. Regret number 2, feeling forgotten. The loneliness that silence cannot explain. When the visit stopped, it wasn't just the hallway that felt empty, it was me. Loneliness isn't simply being alone, it's feeling forgotten, like your presence no longer matters in the world you once helped build. And for many seniors who transition to nursing homes, this is the second great regret. Let me tell you about Mrs. Myra Lee, a retired librarian, age 82. Sharp mind, warm heart, fiercely independent. When she moved into the facility, her daughter promised to visit every weekend, and for a few months she did. But then, work picked up. Her grandchildren's schedules got hectic. Myra's phone began to ring less often. The door to her room stayed closed more frequently. It's not that they stopped loving me, she said. They just stopped remembering how much I needed to see them. Why loneliness hurts more than we think. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that chronic loneliness is as harmful to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It raises risks of heart disease, stroke, cognitive decline, depression, premature death. When the social connections we depend on fade, the brain begins to perceive danger, even if we're physically safe. This triggers the body's stress response, releasing cortisol and inflammation that silently erodes health. Chaptington, emotional toll of being out of sight, out of mind. Moving into a care facility often means moving out of the rhythm of family life. Grandkids grow up. Holidays get reshuffled. Phone calls are replaced by quick texts or silence. And for the elderly, who already feel their world shrinking, each missed visit is felt deeply. Mr. Franklin, 79, told me, "Every Friday, I combed my hair and put on cologne just in case someone came. Sometimes I waited all day." That anticipation turns to resignation, and over time, a person begins to withdraw, not because they want to, but because they stop believing anyone is still reaching in. Why calls aren't enough. While video calls and phone check-ins are better than nothing, they're not substitutes for human contact. Touch, Yes, even a hand squeeze releases oxytocin, the connection hormone. Shared meals stimulate appetite. Laughter with loved ones protects cognition. No screen can replicate the healing power of presence. Sahang. Action steps for families. If you have a loved one in a facility, 1. Create a schedule, weekly visits, even 15 minutes, matter. 2. Assign a family calendar, grandkids, siblings, cousins, all can contribute. 3. Send photos or handwritten letters. Tangible memories mean the world. 4. Never underestimate holidays. Even a 30-minute stop-in can change their entire season. Das ist. Action steps for residents. Join activities, even when it feels hard. Introduce yourself to staff. Build mini routines of interaction. Keep a memory wall of cards, photos, letters, reminders that you do matter. Advocate for community events or intergenerational programs. Dr. Harper's insight. Human connection is a vital sign. We don't just measure health through pulse and blood pressure, we measure it in hugs, laughter, and the simple act of being seen. Loneliness doesn't have to be your story, but preventing it takes intention from both sides. If you or someone you love is considering a nursing home, plan not just for medical care, but for relational care. Because the most advanced facility means little if no one visits to see you thrive in it. Stay connected, stay remembered, and remember, love isn't about proximity, it's about effort. Stay strong, stay steady, and stay in touch. Regret number 3, loss of purpose. To feel alive, we must still feel needed. Purpose is the engine of life. When you take it away, the rest of the system begins to shut down. One of the most underestimated aspects of aging well isn't just mobility, memory, or medicine. It's meaning. When older adults move into nursing homes, they don't just leave behind their homes. They often leave behind the daily activities, responsibilities, and contributions that gave them a sense of identity. Let me tell you about Mr. Howard Benson, age 85. He spent his entire life as a gardener, cultivating not just plants, but joy in his neighborhood. He used to rise with the sun, check the soil, talk to his flowers like friends. His hands were always earthy, and his eyes sparkled when he spoke of the seasons. But after a fall and a hospital stay, he transitioned into a care facility. They gave me clean clothes and 3 meals, he told me, but they didn't give me anything to care for. He described his days now as too clean, too quiet, too still. That stillness? That wasn't peace. It was purposelessness. Chapter What the research says. Studies from the Journal of Gerontology have found that older adults who report a strong sense of purpose have lower risk of stroke and heart attack, better mobility and physical function, improved sleep and emotional well-being, greater longevity overall. Purpose, in simple terms, keeps you anchored to life. And in nursing homes, where much of the daily activity is handled by staff, older adults can begin to feel more like passive recipients than active participants. The slow disappearance of meaningful tasks. Cooking your own breakfast? Gone. Watering your own plants? Gone. Checking the mail? Gone. Even choosing your daily outfit may now depend on staff availability. And when routines vanish, identity follows. Take Mrs. Betty Walker, 78, who used to run a small sewing repair shop. Her mornings were filled with measuring tape, colorful thread, and stories from her clients. Now, at her facility, her sewing kit was locked in a drawer for safety. "My hands remember," she told me, "but they have nothing to do." We worked with the facility director to create a small craft station and a rotating volunteer table for light mending work. Suddenly, other residents were bringing her buttons to reattach or hems to repair. The light in her eyes returned. Purpose didn't just return, it revived her. What purpose looks like. After 70, purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be feeding the birds each morning, teaching chess to a younger resident, leading a weekly prayer or meditation circle, helping in a facility's garden or newsletter, recording family history for grandchildren. It's the act of contributing, of being needed, of knowing that someone is better off because you're here. How facilities can restore purpose. If you're a caregiver or administrator, consider these purpose-driven additions. Resident-led activities. Allow seniors to teach a skill or share a hobby. Mentorship programs. Pair seniors with younger volunteers or students. Micro-responsibilities. Assign small tasks like watering plants, organizing books, or helping set the table. And creative spaces, art rooms, journaling circles, music hours. And always ask, what did you love doing before? How can we bring some of that here? Real-life story. The power of contribution. Mr. Julio Carter, 80Y, was an accountant. In his facility, he noticed the staff had trouble tracking activity attendance. He offered to build a simple spreadsheet and the staff agreed. 3 weeks later, he was helping with inventory too. "Every night I sleep better," he told me, "because I'm still useful." Action steps for seniors. Ask your facility about leadership roles or small tasks you can take on. Reignite old hobbies in modified ways: knitting, journaling, puzzles. Mentor a younger family member or facility staff member. Volunteer time to help fellow residents who may need assistance. Even 5 minutes a day of meaningful contribution can shift mindset and mood. Dr. Harper's reflection. Purpose is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. When you remove every task, you risk removing every reason to keep trying. That's not just psychological, it's physiological. As a doctor, I've seen more energy come from giving someone a sense of purpose than from any vitamin or medication. That's because humans are built to matter. If you're considering a nursing home, don't just ask, "Will they keep me safe?" Also ask, "Will they keep me engaged? Will they help me feel needed?" Because a life of safety without significance isn't a life well lived. Stay purposeful, stay proud, stay alive inside. Regret number 4, declining health faster than expected. It's not just that I slowed down, it's that I stopped moving altogether. Inactivity is the hidden accelerator of aging. When seniors transition into nursing homes, one of the unintended consequences is a dramatic decline in physical health, often much faster than they or their families anticipated. Many believe that these facilities will help them rest, recover, and live comfortably. But in reality, the over-accommodation of nursing home routines often fosters sedentarism, leading to rapid muscle atrophy, joint stiffness, cardiovascular deconditioning, and metabolic slowdown. Let's talk about Mr. James Miller, 79, who had always been moderately active. He walked to the corner store, cooked for himself, and even volunteered at a local library. After a bad bout of pneumonia, his children convinced him to take it easy and move into a care facility. Within 6 months, James went from independent living to needing a wheelchair. Why? Because every little movement that once kept his muscles alive, walking, reaching, squatting, and standing, was now replaced by passive care. Meals delivered, clothes laid out, medication handed over. Slowly, his body responded by shutting down the systems it no longer needed. He told me, "I didn't think comfort would cost me my legs." The physiology of disuse. A study in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that even days of bed rest in older adults can result in a 10–15% reduction in leg strength, decreased insulin sensitivity, increased risk of pneumonia, constipation, and pressure ulcers. Muscles follow a use it or lose it principle, and for seniors, losing it happens much faster. Mental and emotional toll and decline in mobility often correlates with depression, loss of appetite, sleep disturbances, decreased cognitive function. Because when the body slows down, so does the mind. Take Mrs. Evelyn Rhodes, 84, a former music teacher. She moved into assisted living after a minor stroke. In the beginning, she could still walk with a cane. But after 3 months of relying on staff assistance for everything, from bathroom trips to sitting down at meals, she began needing a walker. 6 months in, her son told me, "She looks like she gave up." And in some ways, she had. Eat. What can be done? Movement must be intentional. It must be baked into daily routines, not optional recreation. Morning chair yoga, daily hallway walks with a buddy, resistance bands in every room, encouraging residents to walk to meals, not be wheeled, functional tasks like folding laundry, gardening, or helping in the kitchen. Facilities should not just allow activity, they should champion it. Real-life example, from frailty to freedom. Mr. Alan Brooks, 82, moved into a care home after a fall. Initially placed on fall precautions, he was confined to a chair, but with the help of a progressive physical therapist, Alan started daily balance drills and strength work. 3 months later, he was walking unassisted across the courtyard. He said, "I felt like I got 5 years of life back." Dr. Harper's takeaway. Comfort is not the opposite of danger. Stagnation is. If you or a loved one is entering a nursing facility, ask these critical questions. Will I have opportunities to move each day? Are there structured strength and balance programs? How often will I be encouraged, not just allowed, to move? Because the difference between growing old and breaking down lies in one word: movement. Keep your body moving and your life moving with it. Regret number 5, the loss of privacy and dignity. It's not just about who sees you, it's about who still sees you as you. Privacy is not just a convenience, it's part of your identity. And dignity is not just about being respected, it's about being recognized. As a physician who has visited and consulted for numerous long-term care facilities across the country, I've seen firsthand how a slow erosion of privacy and dignity can have profound psychological and physical consequences, often underestimated by both families and healthcare systems. When seniors move into nursing homes, what they often lose isn't only space, it's the sovereignty over their bodies, time, decisions, and sense of self. Let me introduce you to Miss Eleanor Stevens, 86 years old. A retired school principal, Eleanor was sharp, independent, and elegant. Her lipstick always matched her scarf. She journaled nightly, enjoyed morning tea with classical music, and insisted on setting the table herself. When she transitioned to a care facility after a hip surgery, it was meant to be temporary. But even before the physical pain faded, another wound began to open, one less visible but equally painful. Chapter The invisible shift from individual to institution. Ms. Eleanor once told me, "I used to choose when I got dressed. Now, someone knocks and enters with my clothes already picked out." That sentence stayed with me. The knock, but no wait. The spoon-fed, but not by request. The open doors, the shared rooms, the planned showers, the conversations over her head. This wasn't neglect. The staff were kind, but kindness is not the same as dignity. In a study published by the gerontologist, older adults in nursing homes reported that lack of privacy in routine activities like bathing, dressing, and toileting was one of the greatest sources of psychological stress and perceived loss of identity. They weren't just patients. They were persons, but the environment didn't always treat them that way. Chapter I. The privacy that slowly disappears. Room checks. Staff may enter frequently for safety but rarely wait for permission. Personal hygiene, bathing, toileting, dressing, often done on someone else's schedule. Shared rooms, often with strangers, creating awkwardness or distress. Limited autonomy. Decisions like when to sleep, what to eat, or even when to speak may require approval or assistance. It's not about being served, it's about being seen. A real story. Mr. Carl Jennings, 81. Carl was a former mechanic who loved his privacy. "I worked with my hands, not with crowds," he once told me. When he entered a nursing home after early signs of Parkinson's, he struggled most not with tremors, but with the fact that someone had to help him in the restroom, dress him, even manage his laundry. "I feel like I'm on display all the time," he said. "And not once has anyone asked me if I'd like to do things differently." We arranged for him to set his own hygiene routine, choose his clothes, and have a modest privacy curtain installed. Just that small gesture brought tears to his eyes. Because dignity doesn't need a miracle, just mindfulness. Why dignity matters for mental and physical health. According to the World Health Organization, dignity is one of the core determinants of quality of life in aging populations. When dignity is compromised, older adults experience increased anxiety and depression, loss of motivation, reduced participation in therapy or recovery, higher rates of social withdrawal. This isn't just emotional, it's neurological. When people feel disrespected or invisible, it triggers a stress response that affects immunity, cognition, and recovery. How we can restore dignity in elder care. Whether you're a caregiver, a facility administrator, or a family member, ask these. 1. Knock, pause, and wait. Always respect personal space, even when help is needed. 2. Ask before acting. Even simple acts like brushing hair or adjusting blankets should come with a question. Would you like help with this? 3. Give choices. Let them choose their outfit, meal option, or even activity for the day. 4. Create me spaces. Decorate rooms with personal items, photos, favorite books, scents. 5. Use names, not labels. Say Mrs. Stevens, not Room 12. George, not the fall risk. A powerful shift in language words matter. Instead of, let me clean you up, say, would you like help freshening up? James, instead of, it's time for your meds, say, are you ready for your next medication? These aren't semantics. They are signals. Signals that say, you are still the decision maker in your life. Real example, dignity restored. Mrs. Teresa Mitchell, 80, felt embarrassed during weekly communal bathing. Her request for private showers was declined due to staffing. Together, her family and I worked with the facility director to shift her to an alternate schedule with more privacy. We also gave her control over bathing products and music during her sessions. Now I feel human again, she told me. Not just clean, respected. PT. Dr. Harper's takeaway. Dignity doesn't demand silence or sacrifice. It demands recognition. The dignity conversation isn't about luxury. It's about identity preservation. If you or a loved one is considering a nursing home, ask, will my privacy be respected? Will my preferences be heard? Will I still feel like me? Because once privacy and dignity are lost, the sense of self often fades right along with it. Let's make sure that in caring for our elders, we don't forget to honor them. Regret number 6, realizing it's harder to leave than you think. I thought I could always go back. I was wrong. The hardest doors to reopen are the ones we never realized were closing. One of the most surprising truths many seniors discover, often too late, is that moving into a nursing home can be far more permanent than it first appears. Many seniors go into care facilities with the mindset, I'll just stay for a while, get stronger, then go home. It seems temporary, a safe pause, a bridge. But in reality, that pause often turns into a full stop. Let's begin with the story of Mrs. Eleanor Collins, 81. After recovering from hip surgery, she agreed to a short-term rehab stay in a nursing home. Just a few weeks, she told her daughter. But weeks turned to months. Her home, unattended, started to fall into disrepair. Her children, thinking she wouldn't return, sold off some of her belongings and began discussing selling the house. When Eleanor finally asked about going home, the response was hesitant. Are you sure? Wouldn't it be safer here? And physically, she wasn't as strong as she used to be. She didn't feel confident anymore. The home she'd imagined returning to no longer felt like hers. Why leaving becomes so difficult. 1. Physical decline. Even short periods of inactivity can make daily living more difficult. Walking upstairs, cooking, getting in and out of bed. Seniors who lose muscle mass quickly find themselves dependent on assistance. 2. Emotional dependence. Comfort becomes routine. Safety becomes a trap. The predictability of care replaces the unpredictability of freedom. 3. Family dynamics. Adult children, even with good intentions, may prefer the peace of mind that comes from knowing their parent is being looked after. They may gently discourage moving back home out of fear or convenience. 4. Logistical barriers. Homes are sold, leases end, utilities are disconnected, belongings are donated. By the time someone feels ready to go back, their world has already been dismantled. The psychological trap. When seniors believe they can leave at any time, they feel empowered. But when that option slowly disappears, either due to external or internal barriers, hopelessness sets in. This often leads to increased depression, declining motivation for rehabilitation, a sense of helplessness or resignation. It's what I call the velvet cage syndrome. Soft, padded, seemingly comfortable, but still a cage. Real-life case, the vanishing exit. Mr. Harold Thompson, 86, moved into assisted living after a hospitalization. He told staff he planned to return home in 3 months. But after 6, his children had rented out his condo. They assumed he'd be happier where he was. When Harold asked about returning, his son said, "Dad, we didn't think you were serious. You seem settled." Harold fell silent. "I didn't realize I had to fight to leave," he told me. "I thought being here was my choice." And therein lies the emotional blow. Freedom feels like a given until it's gone. How to protect your right to leave. Chapter 1. Have a reintegration plan from day one. If the move is meant to be temporary, document that intention. Share it with family. Create benchmarks for recovery. 2. Stay connected to your old life. Keep your home if possible. Visit it. Maintain routines that remind you of independence. 3. Retain autonomy where you can. Choose your clothes. Pick your meals. Walk if you can. These small acts reinforce capability. 4. Communicate with family regularly. Let them know how you feel about returning home. Don't assume they understand. Speak up. 5. Ask facilities about transition services. Some nursing homes have social workers who can help plan for discharge and reintegration. Utilize them early. Questions to ask before moving in. What happens if I want to leave? Will I be physically capable of living independently again? What happens to my home while I'm here? Who will advocate for me if I say I want to go home? Dr. Harper's final word. You don't lose independence in one moment. You lose it in 100 little ways until one day you look around and realize it's no longer yours. If you or a loved one are considering a move to a nursing home, remember this: getting in is easy, getting out is harder. Don't assume freedom will be there waiting. Plan for it, protect it, fight for it if you must, because your life, your home, and your sense of self are worth holding on to. Stay empowered, stay vocal, and never forget, you deserve the choice to live on your terms. Final reflections before you go. What if the comfort you're promised ends up costing you your purpose, your strength, and your identity? If you've stayed with me until now, first, thank you. You've just absorbed one of the most important conversations we can have about aging, independence, and the hidden trade-offs of nursing home life. This wasn't just a video, it was a wake-up call, a roadmap, a mirror held up to a reality too many face when it's already too late. Maybe you saw a reflection of yourself. Maybe you recognize someone you love. Now here's what I ask. Leave a comment below. Share one insight that moved you. one regret that resonated, or one step you'll take starting today. Subscribe to Ageless Living 365. Because next week, I'm going to reveal how you or your loved one can reclaim strength, reverse frailty, and build a personalized plan to age in place, safely and powerfully. Don't miss it. Because the decisions you make today can define the decades you still have ahead. And if this video helped you, share it with someone who needs it. A son, a daughter, a friend. Don't let silence steal another future. E. You are not a number, not a diagnosis, not a bed in a hallway. You are a human being with history, value, and a voice. And on this channel, your voice is heard. This is Dr. Michael Harper, and this is Ageless Living 365, where we don't just talk about growing older, we talk about growing stronger, wiser, and more alive every single day. So until next time, stay strong, stay seen, stay ageless.